there's all this like maintenance and stuff you have to do to make your computer run faster, and in Linux you just kind of set it up and go, and you don't have to worry about the file system whether it's being fragmented or things like that. So when I heard that there's a little tweak you can do to make your computer possibly run faster, I'm like, sweet, let's take a look at that. And so I was listening to a podcast, and it was called Going Linux, and they started talking about it. So I looked it up, and it's called swappiness. So swappiness related to the swap space on your computer. So I wanted to start with talking a little bit about swap space, in case you didn't know really what it is. Alright, so the swap space is the space on your hard disk that is like the virtual memory. Whenever your RAM gets filled up, it goes to a swap space. The swap space is used, just what I said, but it's very slow. So the more it has to put files and system, things to the swap, the slower it is, so your computer runs slower. So swappiness is the ability to change how often swappiness swap runs. It was running great a minute ago. Well, I've got my mouse. Wow, it ran awesome, all the tests, and then now it's starting to do this. There we go. Okay, here, this one. Just give it a second to recognize it. Backwards pointer, it'll recognize it in a second.
You just have to wave your arms around for a while.
It's doing something because on your monitor it's fading in and out.
Well, no, maybe it's because he has a swappiness too low.
It's changing on the monitor, but it's not changing on the...
No, it's changing the big blue button one, not here. So swappiness.
Are you going to click it out again?
No,
It's turned on.
So swappiness is the tendency for the kernel to use swap space instead of the RAM. So and this is a 0 to 100 value, and at 60, the default is at 60. So if you crank that down, then it's going to use RAM more often than swap space. So then if you have a ton of RAM, like on my laptop I have 4 gigs of RAM, so I'll just crank that down to 10 or 0, and then all it will use is the RAM instead of swap space.
If you crank it down to 0, and it does need to swap, it will still swap, correct?
Yeah, so this is just the tendency. Well, at 0, I don't know if it will. So if it has to, I'm assuming it would, but I wouldn't go, I'm not going to set it to 0, I'm going to put it to 10.
Tony, is there actually a way to tell
What it is?
how much it's swapped?
You can tell what the current value is, and then you can run like System Monitor to monitor how much swap, or I think top will tell you.
Let's face it, I spend absolutely zero time thinking about it.
Right. Well, top will tell you whether it's using RAM or swap space.
Personally, I wonder why we still have swap files.
Well, now I've changed this one. Alright, so the default swappiness is 60. To check what your current value is, you cat your proc system VMs swappiness to see what it is. To temporarily change it, just to see if it's going to work. Like say if you set it to 0 and you crank everything up, you don't want it to be at 0 all the time. if it screws up. So you do sudo syscontrol.vm swappiness equals 10, and that'll set it to 10. And that's just a temporary setting, because next time you reboot, the kernel's not going to see that setting again. It's going to go what's in the config file. So if you do that testing and you like it, then you can change it in the file.
Okay, that works in Ubuntu, it does not work with Syscon. Just a note.
All right, that's a good thing, 'cause
Then use Ubuntu.
this is off the Ubuntu system. I mean, this is a kernel setting,
Mm-hmm.
so I would assume.
I just did it in today and it worked. I put that cat command in and it came back to run.
Okay, so I assume these specific commands are going to be probably Debian related, even though it's a kernel thing. So I'd assume any Linux distro will do this. So you'll probably have to look up the like the SUSE command for it, but it's still, I'm sure there's a swappiness. So to change it, to make it permanent, you're going to want to edit. So sudo, my favorite editor is Nano. And then the etc syscontrol.conf file. And then you go in and you search for the .vm swappiness line, and you change that to the value you want it to be, so 10.
Wait, can you back up?
Yeah. All these notes are on the MDLog website right now, so you can, and it's I'm also showing it on BBB, Big Blue Button. But
This is so cool.
yeah. So for my references, like I said, the Going Linux webcast. Here's a link directly to the website that I got this from. But then they also refer to the Ubuntu website, the wiki, for and that's where I got most of the information for the commands and everything. And that's it. So what I can do now is open up my terminal and I'll show you
What are we supposed to search for in that file? VM or VM swappiness?
VM.swappiness.
Bless you.
Hello there. We got feedback from, oh, I think it's feedback from my speakers on Big Blue Button.
Hey, it says VM.swappiness was not found in the file.
Alright. I am trying to mute it. So what's the control F? Can you guys see that at all?
Yeah. Wow. It says VM not found.
VM dot.
Yeah, I just searched for VM and it said not found.
I don't know how you can see that, but okay.
I'm in Etsy/basically syscontrol.com. Is there some other place where, because I obviously use swappiness because it respond that the cat may respond with a 60. You were in process. That's what
So here is my file. So I'm going to do Control W to find, and we are way off the bottom of the screen. Let's see if I can see my screen.
why did you drag it around off the screen?
Because I'm on a dual monitor, so I can see it
truth.
Huh. It does say it's not found. Although I did the cat, croc, sys, VM swappiness, and mine showed up as 10.
Where did
So
you make the permanent change? Or did you not make a permanent change, you made that temporary change?
I did the temporary change.
Are you sure it's temporary change?
What?
Are you sure it's temporary change?
For everything I've read, it says it is.
What does it mean to make a temporary change?
It is syscontrol, SYS.
You got sudo, right?
Yes.
Sudo syscontrol.
Sudo space SYSCTL space VM dot swappiness equals 10.
That's just temporary.
Okay. So that worked for me too. Right now, my system's now recording a swapping system 5.
Okay. And then now if you go back and say check the system, the swappiness, run this one,
I did.
and it says it's 5.
Recording a 5, which is what I changed.
Okay.
But where is it making that change? Where do we need to make that change to make it permanent?
Right there. In the,
Do we add a line? Do we need to add a line to that file?
everything I was that I read was say search for it and yeah, it's there. And you change it. But I guess a little bit of Googling is required. Right.
Okay, so were there any other questions on the presentation? Okay, we'll consider that a done deal. Thank you, Tony.